Hi AP Statistics, this is Miss Lucas. I am putting together this video for you for those of you that do not have access to your TI-84 calculator during the break. So there's a website called Stapplet, and I'll show you. The website name is stapplet.com, and that gives you access to a bunch of stats programs online that you can use instead of your TI-84, because you'll be doing the Unit 7 test from home this week, so you'll definitely need access to a calculator. I'm going to talk about three functions that we typically do on our calculator that you'll be doing on this website if you don't have it. So the first one is finding the x-bar and the standard deviation of a data set. So I'm going to give you a data set. We're going to do it on this calculator together, and then I'm going to show you how to do it on the Stapplet. All right, so what we are going to be doing is an analysis of the number of friends that your teachers at Banneker High School have. So obviously, Miss Lucas, me, I have 25 friends. I'm very popular. Miss King is even more popular, obviously. She has 37 friends. Mr. Carlisle, 33 friends. And Mr. Patterson has 5, and that's a stretch. I added some just to make him feel better. All right, so let's go ahead and put this in our L1, 25, 37, 33, and 5. So typically what we do is we would hit Stat, Calc, one variable statistics list is L1, and there's nothing in the frequency list, and we hit Calculate. That would give us our x-bar of 25 and our standard deviation. So now on Stapplet, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Data Analysis, one quantitative variable single group, and we'll put in these same numbers. All right, so Data Analysis is the first group. I click on one quantitative variable single group. I don't need a variable name. That doesn't matter. Our input is going to be raw data because that's what we have. So I'm going to put in the raw data of 25, 37, 33, and 5. It says separate by commas or spaces, so you can put commas, you can put spaces, that will work. Click on Begin Analysis. It gives us a dot plot, and it gives us this summary right here. So our mean, which was our x-bar on the calculator, is 25, and our standard deviation is 14.236, which is the same as what it has in our calculator. So if you need to calculate the x-bar or the standard deviation given a set of quantitative values, that's what you would use this right here. Okay, the second test that we're going to look at is calculating the p-value for a one-sample t-test for population mean. So typically what we've done before is we use the test statistic formula, right? Our test statistic is going to equal the x-bar minus the, oh, you can't even see what I'm writing. Test statistic is the x-bar minus the mu from the null hypothesis all over sigma divided by square root of n, right? So we calculate this, and then we put it in the calculator by going to second vars t CDF, putting in our lower and our upper and our degrees of freedom, and getting a p-value that way, right? Well, if you don't have your calculator, this is how you'll end up getting the p-value. So we're calculating the p-value for a one-sample t-test. So I'm still using these same numbers up here. So what I'm saying is that Gallup did some sort of poll and decided that the average number of friends that teachers should have is 30. So we have two different hypotheses right here, and I'll show you how they work. Our first alternative hypothesis is that the true mean is less than 30. Our B alternative hypothesis is that the true mean is not equal to 30. So you guys should know the difference between these two. This is a one-sided alternate hypothesis, and this is a two-sided alternate hypothesis. And I will show you how to do that in Stapplet. All right, so first let's calculate the test statistic. So our x-bar here would be the 25 that I got, right? 25 minus our mu null is 30. All over our standard deviation, which we said was 14.236 divided by square root of 4. Obviously, the sample size is way too small to meet the conditions, right? So we're just going through it so I can show you how to do these numbers. I didn't want to give you a long list of numbers just to try this out. So when you actually calculate this, you end up getting a test statistic of I'm just going to put the square root of 4 as 2 because we know that. All right, so your test statistic is negative 0.702. So how we would usually put that in is we would go second vars, TCDF. Since our test statistic is negative, I would put in negative 1,000 in the lower, and I put in the t-value of negative 0.702. And then our degrees of freedom would be 3 because we have a sample size of 4. And that gives us this p-value of 0.267. Now, if it were two-sided, I'd have to multiply that by 2, right? So now I'm going to actually show you how to do it in Stapplet. So let me go back to Stapplet. All right, so for our one sample t-test, we're going to estimating a mean. So it's underneath simulation-based inference, so this category right here, and we're doing estimating a mean. All right, once we do that, our input now, instead of raw data, we're just going to put in our mean and standard deviation and our n, which is our sample size. So the mean we got in our group was 25, that was the x bar, right? And our standard deviation was 14.236, so I plugged that in. And our sample size is 4 teachers, me, Ms. King, Mr. Pat, and Mr. Carlisle. So you're going to hit begin analysis. Our inference procedure, everyone should know this, we're a one sample t-test. That's for, if we're calculating a p-value, it's a one sample t-test, right? All right, now here is the cool part. You get to put in what your alternative hypothesis is, whether the true mean is greater than, less than, or not equal to. Our first one was that the true mean was less than. And then this hypothesized mean means what's in your means what's in your null hypothesis. So our null was that mu is equal to 30, so that's what the hypothesized mean is. This is our first alternative here, and I'm going to click on perform inference. And we got a p-value of 0.267, a t-value of negative 0.702, and degrees of freedom of 3. Is that what we got when we did it on the calculator? It most certainly is. Here's our p-value. So typically if our significance level is 0.05, we would fail to reject with a p-value this big. All right, and again, I'm just trying to show you how to get the p-value. This is not notes in any way. All right, so let me go ahead and write that down so that you have it. So you would navigate to simulation-based inference. And you would go to estimating a mean. And then once you click on estimating a mean, you need to change the input dropdown to mean and standard deviation. All right, and I'm writing this down on my notes so that you will know what to write down on yours. All right, so here was the second test, the calculating a p-value for a one sample t-test for population mean. This is what you're actually going to go to on Stapplet to get that p-value. All right, so you can pause the video if you need to write any of that down. Okay, we're ready for the last thing that I'm going to show you on Stapplet for this Unit 7 test, and that's calculating the p-value for a two sample t-test for a difference in means. So we just previously did a one sample t-test, now we're doing two sample t-tests. It's in the same category, simulation-based inference. You're going to click on testing a difference in means, and you're going to change the input to mean and standard deviation. So go ahead and pause the video to write this down if you need to, and then you can pick it back up and we'll go to Stapplet. All right, so I accidentally already selected in Stapplet, but remember we're in simulation-based inference, and we're going to testing a difference in means right here. So once you click on that, the default input is raw data, and we're going to change that to mean and standard deviation. So you have two groups here, and it's obvious why. It's a two-sample t-test. All right, so I'm going to go back to the data we're going to use for the simulation. All right, we're going to use flight prices before and after. Obviously, when I say before and after, I'm talking about before and after COVID-19. So here are the different locations. This was before the virus was prevalent, and this is after. So these are the two groups, and what we're going to do is do a t-test to see if there's a difference in flight prices, which obviously we know there are, right? So for each group, I need an X-bar and a standard deviation. And to do that, we will do the original, the very first thing I showed you. So let's go to one quantitative variable single group, raw data. So I'm doing the before group first, 2,000, 1,500, 1,700, and 1,800. Those are my flight prices. All right, so once I got that, I got an X-bar of 1,750. And a standard deviation of 208.167. All right, let's go to, we'll do another group. So I'll click on Reset Everything. And now my new data, I'm going to do the after group. 800, 300, 150, and 400. Sorry about that. All right. So you'll click on Begin Analysis, and you'll see the new X-bar of 412.5 and the standard deviation of 278.014. All right, so I went ahead and wrote that down for both groups here. And now we'll go ahead and put it in Stapplet. So if you need to pause the video to get this down, you may do that. All right, now back on Stapplet, we're going to go to Testing a Difference in Means. And we're changing that input to mean and standard deviation. We'll call this the before and this the after. So our mean here is 1,750. And then our mean on the second group is 412.50. Our standard deviation on the first group was 208.167. And our standard deviation on the second group was 278.014. All right. Let me make sure I got all this right. 1750, 208. All right. And then our N was the number of locations we looked at, which was 4. So our N is 4 here and here. All right, you click on Begin Analysis, and your inference procedure is a 2-sample t-test, right? P-values go with the t-test. All right. Our alternate hypothesis, you can click on any of these to change it, so we'll do all 3 and I'll show you. So you click on Perform Inference and your p-value is way smaller than 0.001. All right, now let's say that the alternative hypothesis is less than 0. Perform Inference, our p-value is 1, which is a big number for a p-value. And then we'll say our inference is just not 0. And again, our p-value is very small there. All right, so hopefully this video helped. Obviously, you can email me or Ms. King or text us on Remind, and we'd be happy to help you with any Stapplet questions. Or if you have your calculator at home, feel free to use that as well. All right, and check back on Schoology throughout the week, and we'll be posting new assignments, and good luck on the Unit 7 test.